Welcome in everybody to the TK Pod. My name is Tyler Kluver. I was once a Division 1 football player. I am now a podcaster, fitness coach, and CrossFit athlete, doing all of that as a husband and father of two. This show is an audio journal, a spot for me to vent or ramble about thoughts I have relating to fitness and health, my personal competitive aspirations, business, entrepreneurship, and more. I hope that each show can provide one small bit of value for you, the listener. Regardless, I'm glad you're here. Let's have a day. Let's go. All right, we're back for another TK pod, and we're going to recap quarterfinals today as that went down this past weekend. Again, and maybe this is where you're going to explore the mind of how I process negative outcomes, probably a bit of a drastic term there, but we were humbled a little bit this past weekend on the quarterfinals front, and we'll discuss why that was. I've got a couple excuses that I could use, but the reality is the scoreboard says what it says, and there's context to it. There's certainly nuance, and I need to be smart about how I process that. But the initial reaction was a tough one because it wasn't exactly the result I wanted. And again, there's just no reason to place 100% of my, not even like my worth or how I or my like a total emotional well-being that surrounds my training and how that's going around the quarterfinals the quarterfinals weekend, the quarterfinals results, but it is a marker, it is data that I would like to be positive, at least based on my perception and expectations, and it wasn't. And we're going to quickly go over that today. I'm not going to hash out some long podcast here. I'm going to bring up where I finished on the leaderboard. Out of the open, which again, I've told you guys many a times for those that care and continue to follow along. And there's a yawn. There's how much I give a fuck. The open is, as the season progresses, I would typically get better relative to the field, whatever size that of field that is, the further you go along in a competition or in the season of CrossFit. And really what that looks like is um three stages. The games are its own thing that I'll never make, and it's like that's for the top guys. But for this three stages that I could realistically compete in or are relevant for me, being the Worldwide Open, then the quarterfinals, then the semifinals slash in-person regional kind of big time events. Uh, I do better relative to the style of programming the further along that gets generally, right? Reason being, I am fairly well-rounded, and naturally, the type of athlete I am is a power sort of skill athlete. I am not the guy who came into CrossFit with the big aerobic base, the guy with a bunch of lungs that just had to learn all the skills and work on the barbell stuff to round himself out. I'm the guy who came in with prerequisite strength in most areas, skill within the barbell stuff, Olympic lifting background type stuff. And then a probably my most unique ability is to learn new skills and be good at them. Handstand kind of work, handstand walking, muscle ups, pistols, all the weird stuff that CrossFit has. And then my big thing was where I had to catch up drastically, and still to this day and probably forever relative to the field, is my aerobic conditioning, how my body just processes oxygen, lungs, right? And we've made great strides in that. But what that results in is the open, which is very much so a low weight, low skill, how much can you just breathe and hurt I usually do the worst there, and then as it gets heavier and more skilled, I do better. All of that to say, I got 1,080 or maybe 1,030, somewhere in the 1,000 range for the open. And for quarterfinals, I actually did 50-ish spots worse. Um, in the quarter of a field, right? I had 75% less people to compete against, and I still got effectively the exact same placement amongst all of those people. Um, with workouts that generally I thought would be pretty good for me. And again, there's nuance. Um, we'll go over that here in just a second. 1,132nd in the world in quarterfinals. Um, the as far as the programming goes, this is the the open and the quarterfinals have been very, very interesting. If you want to get into the nerdy side of them testing well-rounded fitness, there has been a lot of movements, a lot of different exercises. Certainly, the time frames and sort of the stimuluses that they've been testing, which are important in sort of the deeper conversation of CrossFit programming, have not varied very much. All of the open workouts for someone that isn't the best in the world, basically, were essentially anywhere from 12 to 14 minutes, 15 minutes. So you had 3 workouts that were all within 12 minutes, 14 minutes, 15 minutes. It's the exact same time frame. Um, and then for quarterfinals, you had uh, basically a range that went anywhere from what should have been closer to like 6 minutes, but for me it was 7. Anywhere from 7 to 11 minutes. So a little bit shorter, right? And all of them were within that. We had a 7-minute workout, we had a 11-minute workout, we had a 10-minute workout, and we had a 7-minute work 2 7-minute workouts, a 10 and an 11. Um, it got even shorter for the best in the world, and for the best in the world, you were looking at anywhere from, like, 4.5 minutes to 10 minutes. Nothing over 15 minutes has been tested, which, to be fair, is great. I generally do not want anything longer than that, though the results aren't saying it this year. And nothing super short has been tested either, although the one workout for the best in the world was 4.5 minutes. That probably qualifies. We're pretty much living in the middle ground there, a little bit of the shorter side of things during this quarterfinals. And every test in the open was kind of the same area. Every test in the quarterfinals relative to each other was the same area. So it's been very interesting. Uh, is it the best test we've had? I don't know if it really matters for me to discuss that. Obviously, I'm probably biased and going to say no because I'm not placing very well. And when I say not very well, we're talking about I'm both in the open and the quarterfinals. I'm 100 spots out of the top 1,000 guys in the world that do this. That also includes a ton, and this is a big, if you're in the niche CrossFit, sphere, and you pay attention to any media that comes out of CrossFit and content that's created around it, that that top 1,000 in the world, basically, that I sit for both these first two, uh, what is it called, phases of the CrossFit Games season. There are tons and tons of people whose scores are on this leaderboard. Many who are probably above me, who put in scores that aren't correct. They're completely falsified, or it's the score they got, but to get there, they cheated, whether intentionally or not, a ton of reps on squat depth, on movement standards, on locking out certain bar muscle ups, on lowering the weight before you're all the way stood up. 100 different things that you could get no reps for that they just get approved by their home judge and they put it on the leaderboard and they're like, yeah, I'm good. So, is if there was some magical way for God to come down out of the sky and be like, "Here's what your actual placement is on these workouts," yeah, it would probably be higher. Um, that being said, it is what it is. It's 1,132nd in the world. It's a lower placement than I finished in the Open. And the true context there is that total points, you want the lowest points possible in the scoring system. My total points was 5,600 points, and 3,350 of those points came from one workout. So 60% of my point accumulation came from one of the four workouts. That's not good. What does that say? What does that mean? That means that one of these workouts was a severe outlier for me. On workout one, I got 618th in the world. Felt pretty good about it. Could have gone faster. On workout two, I got 1,139th in the world. For it being a 40 bar muscle up workout, feel pretty good about that. Total points between those first two, about 1,700, a little over. Workout four, I got 498th in the world, top 500 in the world score on that. Add that to the running total, you're looking at like 2,200 points, 2,250. Workout three by itself, again, the other three combined right now, I have 2,250 total points. Workout three by itself, 3,350 points, 3,350th in the world. What workout was that, you ask? Well, it was a deadlift battery workout, and to some extent, for me it was, and paired with double unders. I've done a shitload of work on double unders. I've done a fair amount of work on my 1 rep max deadlift. We've talked about how the deadlift has been one of my PRs by a long shot. My top end strength, what I can lift for one or a couple reps, has drastically jumped for the deadlift. The one thing I have not done straight up, and like really not done, like I hardly do any workouts like this. And to be honest, it's mostly the excuse isn't, it doesn't mean anything, but the excuse is that I specifically blow up and my back gets torched. I get so sore. It affects training when I do it, and I probably just need to grind through it and just figure it out. But when I do high rep, low to mid weight deadlift workouts, it fucks me up, and I'm not good at them, and I don't like them, and that's the reality. And it came back around to bite me in the ass. And the double unders, I put in enough work. I think I've done. I could certainly do more, but I did not short myself on double under practice and preparation over the last 4 months. In the past, this with the double under ability that I used to have, this massive outlier workout would have been even worse for me. To throw on top of this, and now looking back in hindsight, it was probably a dumb thing to do, but I don't know, it made sense in the moment. Is that because I was not peaking or prioritizing quarterfinals, and a wrench got thrown in there that I had to do all these before Saturday at noon when I was leaving out of town. I essentially had less than 48 hours to do these four workouts, which again, for somebody like me, should not be a massive issue. But I decided to do this workout last when I was torched from two previous workouts. And one of those workouts I did an hour before this one. So I did a workout at about 9:10, 9:15 Saturday morning. I ripped this one 75 minutes later at 10:30, and I was just cooked, right? The 225 bar, every bar, all three bars felt 100 pounds heavier than they should have. Um, and my ability to just push and go and my heart rate, being able to stay calm and low, it wasn't there. It spiked immediately. I couldn't pick up the bar. I couldn't breathe. It was just bad. I was cooked. And so, if I maximize my weekend and the time to do these workouts, I probably do a little better. I came back around pissed off on Monday when before these scores came out, actually, knowing that this workout was by far the worst one that was going to show up on the leaderboard. Um, Changed my own weights. I did it with three separately loaded bars, like perfectly set up and got 720 on Saturday morning. Came back, changed my own weights, did it in my garage on Monday, and went about 30 seconds faster while changing my own weights. So that's probably another 20 to 30 seconds on top of that. And if you take that in consideration, I did it 2 days later. I didn't get any fitter in those 2 days. I just felt better. Um, this is where the nuance comes in. If you take into consideration that score and you gave me a 6, let's just give me a minute faster, 6:20. Let's just say 6:29 because it's the one that's close on the leaderboard here. If you gave me 6:29 on that, which would be 51 seconds faster, it would have cut off 1,250 points off my total score. And I think when I went back in there and looked at what that would be on the total leaderboard, I would have been somewhere around 850th in the world. It would have basically given me, if I would have entered the score that I got when I wasn't cooked, it would have moved me up 300 spots in the world. So the caveat to me being in a placement on the leaderboard that I don't like is if I wasn't an idiot or I just had more time, we'd probably be up around 800th. Now, that makes me feel a little bit better, but not a lot because that workout, even then, would still be a massive outlier. It would still be accumulating about just as many points as the other three combined. And it shows that I have a massive weakness in high rep deadlift workouts, and especially when paired with double unders, which are still not a strength for me. So, all of that to say, I got top 2,000 in quarterfinals. I will technically be qualified and moving on to the online semifinal, but I am not happy with where my name sits on that leaderboard. I don't like what that represents. Um, because of that one score, when I compare this to what's really relevant, and that is the next 114 days as of today, less than 4 months, until the Monster Games in July. I basically got beat by almost every single one of my competitors on the leaderboard. And it means I have to do a shitload of deadlifts and double unders just to catch up to the average, kind of competitor that's at my level. If I could somehow do that, if I could somehow, the other three again were 618th, 1139th, and 498th. If you add those all together, that's 1116. You're basically looking at 2250. Divide by 3, and you've got 750th. I averaged 750th place in the world on the other 3 workouts. If I could just do that again on this deadlift double under workout, and I averaged 750th across the board, you're looking at a score that probably puts me, let's see. My total points would have put me somewhere in the top 600 in the world. And that is what I was kind of expecting, and that is what I was hoping for, and that is where I thought or currently think that my fitness is. But that one workout absolutely exposed me, fucked me up, and then on top of it, I did it last, an hour after doing another workout, and that makes the leaderboard look real bad. And I'll be honest, the initial emotional reaction was like, "Holy shit, I suck. I got worse from last year." Like I put in so much time doing this training, like, uh, for someone who has 2 or 3 full-time jobs, I mean, 2 or 3 things that I do as a career to make money, none of them are CrossFit. I'm not an athlete, I have no sponsors, I'm a fucking random dad of 2 in the middle of Iowa who just likes to do this because I like it. For as much fucking time as I spend on it, to just see my name go up there in a worse spot than it was last year, Yeah, that's not great. And then I'm sitting there on Monday going, "All right, 116 days till Monster Games. Just got waxed by everybody I'm gonna see down there. This is gonna be fun. I'm gonna get fucking embarrassed." But there's no other choice. The choice is I get better, I get worse. It's the reality. So, we're gonna try and do the getting better part. Um, and again, you gotta consider the nuance. I have to ignore the purely emotional reaction to just that number and go in and look and see and understand that without that one workout, or if I just do a little bit better on that one workout, the outlook overall gets a whole lot better. And also take that information and understand, okay, that highlighted a weakness. Two weaknesses, especially when paired together. Probably should focus on that a little bit in training. And I will. And training is continuing to ramp up. I started within the entirety of my training program, I started a rowing, a 2K row program, a 2K row cycle that I'll be doing once or twice a week from now until the competition. It's served me very well in the past, not just with my rowing ability, but just general fitness. Um, that will be encompassed in amongst other, you know, 10 or 15 things I'm working on every single week. Um, I think right after I record this podcast, I'm heading out to run a few errands, and one of those is going to be activating a membership at the Y because either, if not this week, tomorrow, probably for sure next week, I will start swimming once a week, and trying to figure out how to not be a dead fish in the pool. So that's coming in. And I think also after this podcast, a lot's happening today. I am probably going to order a couple new pieces of equipment that will help me training a little bit. There's I don't know if it's just the prep for the competition or just the spring. It's spring and it's like a fun time of year and the sun's out and you're feeling good and you're like, I'm gonna just do things for myself. But there's like between apparel and gear and training equipment, I've got about, I don't know, 15 things that I want to order right now. I could just drop $1,000 so fast, maybe $2,000 so fast if I wanted to. So there's going to be several things that are relevant to my fitness, whether it be the clothes I'm wearing, the gear I'm using, or the equipment that I'm working out with that will be bought. Mainly potentially a heavy rope. I don't know if it'll show up, but I think that will help just my general double under ability, but also if it shows up at the competition. A sled, because a sled will almost, it's like at least a 50-50 chance they'll have to push or pull a sled at the Monster Games, and a few other things. So the training continues. Our eyes are still set on the Monster Games 114 days from now. And that's it. I got humbled after I stopped feeling sorry for myself and being a little bitch. I decided that that's good motivation, that I've got a lot of work to do and I need to work harder. And that is what we're going to do. We'll talk to you next week after another week of doing that, of working harder. See you then.